Hello, we're live. It's Rewind-A-SmackDown. I'm John Pollock along with Wai Ting. What's good?
Hey, what's going on? How you doing, man?
I'm doing swimmingly.
Swimmingly. Okay. Nice. What are you swimming in?
Um, Life,
Joy.
joy. Yeah.
All right. Cool. That's good.
Rain today.
Mm.
A lot of
Yeah, it's
rain.
been rainy this entire week, which I've actually been somewhat grateful for because we're putting in new grass in our lawn. And like the first 2 weeks, I don't know if you've been through like new lawn process, John.
Nope.
You have to water this thing twice a day.
Yeah. It's a
Two times
commitment.
a day, a lot of water. So like it was really disruptive for my life having to like go out there. I guess I would take turns with with my fiance, but still do the front yard, do the backyard. By the end of it, I'm like out 30 minutes out of my day. You multiple sometimes, I do it twice. So I'm out an hour of my day just shooting water out of this thing, standing there, spraying, going back and forth. So I'm grateful for this rain.
Well, let's hope it keeps up
Yeah,
for your sake.
definitely.
Well,
Yes.
keep us abreast of the grass situation. I hope it I don't know,
All right, we could
stays
move on. You
green.
don't you don't have to come up with something to say to that.
I have nothing. I have nothing to add to your grass other than I hope it
Let's just
stays
move
wet.
on.
All right. Well, we have put up a free preview. Wai, do you want to give everybody the heads up if they have not listened already, what they can listen to either in full for you Cap A members. We've also put a free sample out of this week's Rewind Away.
We have, yeah. Everybody listening to this
I
though
know,
would
I know. I
would
just
have it.
realized that midway through, nobody listening to this show gets any benefit out of this free preview because you get the entire show. So you know what, everyone? We're letting the others get a sneak peek at what you guys get to do every single week. You get the whole damn thing because believe me, the best part of the show is the interview with Brad Corbett, and only you guys get it.
Let's not forget the interview with Jake, the
Simpson.
executive producer. Yeah. That was pretty great too, and only you guys get that as well. So, you know what? Just a reminder to go check it out if you haven't yet.
I can't keep this stuff all straight. I'll just be honest with you. It's just I've gone
It's okay.
nonstop since 9:15 a.m. this morning, and that was a very busy edition of SmackDown. SmackDown is usually not so intensive, so to speak.
Yeah, did you find it so intensive? I mean, other than like the big return, like
When I'm doing all these notes, and I've also got to like update the site in real time as well. Yeah, this one was more intensive.
okay, yes, yes. All right, well, let's get right to it.
Let's go into some news items. We did not get to discuss this yet, but on Thursday, we had the passing of Del Wilkes, who you will remember as the Patriot, who had, about a 10-year career after moving on from football, where he played at a fairly significant university in South Carolina and became an All-American there as an offensive lineman and didn't end up getting onto any NFL teams. And that's when he pivoted over to professional wrestling, training under the fabulous Moolah and later Vern Gagne. So he got in there right at the end of the AWA. And boy, did they have an late in the game AWA gimmick for him. He was the babyface police officer, the Trooper, who came out and would write tickets for his opponents and hand out police badges. So this was off to a roaring start, and you will be stunned, Wai. This did not save the AWA in the end, the Trooper, which this man clearly was for going along with this character, but did become tag champions in the AWA. And from there, around 1990 is when he first goes over to All Japan and would have a pretty big presence in All Japan throughout the 90s. He goes to Global, which was on ESPN at the time in 91. That's when he starts wrestling under his most famous character of the Patriot. And it's over in All Japan that he was working as a tag team with George Hines, and they would win the All Asia tag titles from Kenta Kobashi and Tsuyoshi Kikuchi, held them for several months, and then ends up going to WCW in 1994. This is where he formed the Stars and Stripes team with Marcus Alexander Bagwell, which was a decent team in the mid 90s in WCW. They would become tag champions. and left WCW in 95. And this is where he's dedicating all of his time in All Japan. He goes back there and he would form a team with Johnny Ace, and then later teaming with Kenta Kobashi. And then the three of them got together to form GET, which is one of WH's all-time favorite names for a faction. GET stood for Global, Energetic, Tough, which are three attributes that I wake up every morning and strive to be.
Oh yes, I like to get as can be.
Global, Energetic, Tough. And he would ride out his time in All Japan before he makes the switch over to the WWF in the middle of 1997. And this is when Bret Hart and the Hart Foundation are involved in the big Canada versus USA program, and the Patriot made sense for them. He came in, got, a decent push off the bat. Really, to me, was not somebody that was going to be able to crack it at a main event level, but did end up working with Bret Hart on one pay-per-view on the Ground Zero event, which was at the time when you've got Bret as champion, but really the A program during those 2 months were The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels prior to the Survivor Series. And you had Bret kind of involved in this feud with the Patriot. And then they did this flag match the next month at the October pay-per-view. And his career pretty much winds down in 97 when he tears his triceps, and his last match was in November, right before the Survivor Series, against Jim Neidhart. And then he was released in early 98. And I would say for the modern, at least in the 2000s, he was someone very outspoken and had a ton of prescription drug issues. He was arrested around 20 times between 98 and 2002. He was caught faking prescriptions and ended up in prison for 9 months on a parole violation. Getting out in 2003, he had pleaded guilty to a domestic assault charge in 99. And then once he gets out of prison, apparently cleaned himself up and then got involved as a car salesman that he was for the past, I would say, like 15, 16 years prior to his passing on Thursday. He was 59 years old, someone that, experienced a lot of places that he went to in his career, but also went through a lot of the pitfalls of the industry. But it sounds like he was at least able to kick that addiction, which seemed to be pretty significant when you look at some of the stories and, the claims he made of how many pills this guy was having each day. Like, it seemed like it was an enormous, anything that gets you into prison and there's such a dependency on, it's pretty significant. And if he came out of it on the other side, I mean, congratulations to him, but it was not a smooth life he lived.
To a young age, to
59 is not that old.
Yeah.
And I guess, the trivia note was the man who used Kurt Angle's theme first in WWF.
That is right.
So it was a very brief run in WWF, only a couple of months, but it was primarily his All Japan stuff that I think people will most associate with him throughout his career. Now, moving on to some ratings notes, AEW was back on Wednesday night with 883,000 viewers. Brandon Thurston reporting these numbers first, which translated to about a 0.35 in the 18 to 49 demo. But what really stood out in Brandon's report was the peak coming in the main event, the final quarter, involving Sammy Guevara against MJF, along with that video package at the end, peaking with 926,000 viewers and a 0.4 in the demo. That was also going against that big Atlanta-Milwaukee NBA game that did not start until 9 o'clock. So the first hour had a big advantage over the second hour for AEW, and yet the main event was your peak segment. I thought that was a tremendous statement for Guevara and MJF to have that peak number on the show. And I would say overall, this was well above what I anticipated AEW being able to achieve back their first week on Wednesday night.
Same here. Yeah. A great sign for those two that they managed to, have essentially two people that I would consider homegrown AEW talents achieve such a rating. So really great sign for the shows coming up with all their themed shows on the road.
Yeah. And I would say that you've now got, I would say, 4 younger stars in Guevara, MJF, Darby Allin, Jungle Boy that you have been able to prove you can put in main event segments on TV and they will draw. Darby has done it consistently. In the Observer this week, it outlined Omega and Jungle Boy they were the top quarter in every single category. That was a big win for them on Saturday. And I think it really does show you like the investment they put in primarily in those four that has clearly resonated with the audience.
Certainly. Yeah. I mean, as we look towards the new year, we are seemingly going to move away. We have already really, I would say, moving on from maybe the first generation I would consider of the AEW main eventers and perhaps, your elite, your John Moxleys, your Chris Jerichos. And I would say maybe in the coming year, maybe even this year, moving on to your second generation guys like an MJF or, Darby Allin.
Yeah. And the NBA game that night, it did just over 5.8 million viewers. So it was, a very sizable audience they were going against in that second hour. In Canada, they did just under 95,000 viewers, but did have a very good number in the 25 to 54 demo, which is the main one monitored in Canada, of over 63,000 going against the Stanley Cup final game 2, which as we look right now, Tampa, they look to be under 20 minutes away from going up 3-0 in this series. So Montreal looks like they may have their back up against the wall way.
Ooh, all right. Well, keep us monitored.
Don't shed any tears. Just keep it strong for all of us.
I'll try to. Yes.
Final note here was the NXT numbers that were reported earlier this week. NXT doing 636,000, a 0.13 in the demo, and 46,000 in Canada. The US numbers, those would be their lowest since going to Tuesday night. So not this was, again, they also had NBA competition, to be fair. That was 4.6 million people. Do you sense that next Tuesday, have they built up this Great American Bash that, provided, what they're going up against? What do you sense the interest level for this NXT special next Tuesday?
To be quite honest, similar to maybe the last one where overall maybe not as high as takeovers of the past for whatever reason. Maybe it's just the current roster that people aren't completely connecting with. But it's obviously more than the average edition of NXT, but I don't really get as much of a must-see feel coming out of this one.
Do you see it having the ability to do 800,000 viewers next Tuesday?
What did the last TV takeover do? Do you remember?
Stand and Deliver. I can tell you that it did. That was back in April. They did 768,000 viewers, but it was also simulcast on Peacock and would have been going against AEW. So you did have that caveat to it, but 768.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 800. Some different circumstances. This one's unopposed.
I'm going to say just about that, if not maybe slightly under. That's my guess. What about you?
Again, not knowing whatever potential NBA game is going against them, I'd be surprised if they do 768, to be quite honest. Like, I don't sense, like, if you look at their numbers over the past 6, 7, even 8 weeks, it's pretty much like this whole time that they've been running unopposed. Like they had 2 big weeks when they lost AEW as competitors, and it's kind of fallen into this guaranteed audience of 660 to 700. Like that's the range they seem to fall in, except for this week they fell below that. I don't know if they're going to just have this giant 100,000 boost next week. I think like the shows, I typically enjoy the shows. I just don't know if the overall buzz is there at the moment. And I'd be very curious how people's viewing habits have evolved now that we're several months removed from the head-to-head battle. Are the people that were switching back and forth, or maybe watching one after the other on Wednesday, are they going out of their way to watch the other on another night? Are they just sticking to AEW? What are those viewing habits?
We shall see.
All right. All of your news can be found at postwrestling.com. We'll probably get into some more news on tonight's episode of SmackDown because there was a fair bit of it coming out as we were into as Michael Cole noted, the penultimate SmackDown from the Thunderdome. What a distinction this July 2nd episode is.
Can't come soon enough, the end of this thing.
Edge came out to start the show and Michael Cole plugs. God bless. This segment was all about making this match at Money in the Bank feel like the biggest thing in the world. Michael Cole said, for the first time ever, a one-on-one singles match between Roman Reigns and Edge that Pat McAfee calls a dream match. Finally, Way.
Well, it's time to put the promotion hats on, isn't it?
And it was time for Edge to do some massive retelling of WrestleMania here. He said that Mania was supposed to be the culmination of a 10-year story, winning the belt 10 years to the day of his retirement. And he just says, what a great story that would have been. But it didn't happen. He watched the match back and said, I could make excuses. I could complain that Bryan cost me the match by stopping Reigns from tapping to the crossface, or saving him after I hit the spear and knew that he was done, or Jey Uso stopping me from doing a concerto. I could make all these excuses, but I'm not. Maybe in 2006 I would have, but I know that there will always be obstacles. And I know I can beat Roman. Roman knows it. And look at this photo. And there we go, back to WrestleMania. Edge holding a piece of the chair into Roman's mouth with the crossface. And then Edge utters the words, I am inevitable. And I am going to be the Universal Champion. So, man, this was almost like performing the snap so that you forgot WrestleMania, but at the same time, drawing a ton of attention to this match and trying to talk your way out of that finish to make you pumped for this dream match in 2 weeks. How did they do?
I think he did well. You know, like you focus on the aspects that illegitimize that victory, as definitive as it was at WrestleMania, and you really sell the audience on the idea that this is something that we were supposed to get at after the Royal Rumble for this year's WrestleMania, but aren't. I found it interesting how, you know, we are getting a complete babyface version of Edge here, complete with babyface.mp3. And really the story that we were supposed to get, I would say, you know, for the better part of that Royal Rumble WrestleMania season. So I'm excited for it. I think this incarnation of Edge is at its best as a babyface. And I definitely have a lot of faith in their storytelling abilities.
I'd be very curious what the audience would be, how they would be reacting to this story now. I'd be very curious. And we're going to get a sense of that when, you know, this match takes place.
I think it'll be strong. I think people still want to cheer Edge, and I don't necessarily feel like, you know, all that had taken place at WrestleMania will bother people.
I'm gonna look forward to guys having to go out and cut those promos to ensure that the crowd gives them the right reaction. Like if they're worried about Roman getting cheered, get like him coming out there before the show and great to be back here in Fort Worthless.
Sure. Do we know if masks will be required? I mean, that's dependent on the place they're at, right?
This is in Texas. I do not think masks are mandatory.
Yeah, because I just wonder if they are mandatory. I wonder if they would continue with the crowd noise. I wonder if they would continue with the fake crowd noise either way, you know, just because they're so used to having that level of control now. But you know, in places that are masked, I don't know if that's something that they feel, you know, would be necessary.
Maybe someone in the room can check the ticket site if they have any specific language. I would assume that it is not going to be mandatory, but we shall see. Apollo Crews and first we had Paul Heyman, who was watching all of this in the back, and Jimmy Uso came up stating he's got Roman's back and he's going to put Edge down tonight. And we are left wondering, where is Roman Reigns, who had not arrived yet? Mm-hmm. And that would be the show long story. Apollo Crews and Baron Corbin versus King Nakamura and Big E. Corbin is speaking to Megan Morant earlier, and that he has lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So he comes out, he has not shaven. He's got the gray growing out in this just unkept look. And Greg Hamilton has to stop midway through his entrance because he mistakenly called him King and corrects it Baron Corbin. And dude, Corbin is... he's playing this like to a 30. I won't lie. This is the most interesting Baron Corbin I've ever witnessed. I like this.
You know, it's entertaining the way I would say, you know, it's funny to watch your friends act in the school play. You know, it's like the acting is awful. You don't take the storyline at all seriously, but you get a kick out of this person trying to act who clearly can't do a great job of it. But it's yeah, sure, it's amusing. Yeah. They're really just I found, you know, I definitely couldn't foresee that the entire reason for this Shinsuke thing with the crown is so that we can somehow transition to a Baron Corbin broke, you know, depression, sadness angle. Because that's the main focus coming out of this match and seemingly this entire division. This is the brand new big story.
And he's got a terrible contract, obviously.
Well, I mean, maybe he owes money off of these investments. Who knows? Maybe he borrowed more money to invest. I'd like to know what these investments were.
Maybe he was hoping to that in regular times he could have supplemented all of these losses through work on Twitch and Cameo, and unfortunately the company has taken that away from him.
Could have, yeah. Maybe he invested, like maybe he thought WWE stock was gonna be crazy, you know, after the Reddit
Oh,
stuff.
the jump a few weeks ago, and now it's come right back down to earth. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's lost thousands, he says.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Ooh, ouch.
We have Big E doing the.
Okay, so by the way, Baron is the first name now. That's just he's
It's
not
Baron.
necessarily.
Yes, they're calling him Baron, and Shinsuke is gone. It is King Nakamura.
King's K.
King's K. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't mind the switch. It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah. I just want to know, like, man, what Baron, I guess, is not that rare of a first name, actually.
It's going to be Barren by the end of this storyline.
Oh, Baron. He's going to lose his clothes too.
So Rick Boogs is playing the electric guitar as Big E does a vibration kick in the corner. Corbin clotheslines E to the floor and tosses him over the barricade. We come back and Corbin gets distracted because Boogs announces that his Mercedes G-Wagon is being towed away. And I could take this as a believable distraction. If my car was getting towed, I wouldn't be paying attention to the match.
Okay, provided that you could believe that somehow your car getting towed would actually appear in video form on the screen in the arena. You're saying if that would actually.
Wait, I'm not questioning the logic of it. If I can identify my vehicle and I'm seeing it being towed, I'm going to be focused on that.
It would be distracting, no doubt. Yes. Yes.
And he turns into a big ending and is pinned by Big E in 9 minutes. And McAfee asked if Boogs called the Repo Man. And they suggest that these announcers, my God, like they just took out a hammer for you, everyone, and have to ask. They could be repossessing the vehicle because he couldn't make a payment on the vehicle. Thank you, guys. Thank you for taking my hand and walking me through this story. God, it's all connected. He's lost money and now his car is being repossessed. Why, you say? Oh, he can't pay. I'm an idiot. Just tell me I'm an idiot, Michael Cole. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, maybe there are people out there who could use the extra help.
Could this same mindset have produced that Kenny Omega Evil Uno promo where they don't say Hangman Page's name? Not a chance. You would have had them in their ear. He's talking about Hangman Page. Hangman Page is the one that's the number one contender. Hangman Page is the one that Kenny Omega is referring to. Obviously, Hangman Page.
Well, if the audience didn't do it for them, I feel like that particular segment was crafted for the audience to react the way that they did. If they didn't, I'm not sure.
The viewer at home is an extension of that crowd. They got it. Everyone got it. Yeah. So just so we're aware, Corbin is broke. He can't make his car payments. So he didn't even buy it. He only leased this thing with all that money.
Well, you got to have your car right now. You know, he's got investments tied up.
They plugged the return to Madison Square Garden, September 10th. Bayley is out for a face-to-face segment. These have to be weekly now, these face-to-faces between WWE and AEW. They love their face-to-faces. And calls Belair's win at Hell in a Cell a fluke. And the fact that Belair was pinned last week, not a good sign this early in her title reign. So Belair comes out. She's been beating Bayley, but just can't move on. You're obsessed with me. So there's only one way to end this, by embarrassing you. And Belair proposes an I Quit match at Money in the Bank. Bayley has never quit on anything in her life and says, if I were to say those words, I would quit SmackDown. I'd quit WWE. I would quit competing altogether. So I accept. And Belair says, I am so excited to hear you say those words. I quit. Making it very clear that Bianca was not paying attention to Mick Foley and The Rock in '99 by saying this in a promo where this audio has been now captured to time. What is your thought on how this all plays out?
Well, the most interesting wrinkle in it is that is Bayley teasing some sort of retirement match as a stipulation coming out of this, or was this just part of the promo?
I think this was definitely made. I mean, that was obviously inserted here for a clear reason.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't expect her to retire at all, but maybe some form of absence, perhaps from the company for a little bit. It sounds like, I found it strange they didn't really hammer that home here, but the feud honestly isn't all that hot. I think most of us were ready for it to end after the last one, but I think it's a pretty decent stipulation to end the feud that would probably spark a bit of interest.
I don't have any inside knowledge on this, but my assumption from watching this segment is it's Bayley is going to somehow win this match and win the title at Money in the Bank, and perhaps even do something involving Bianca's hair, because it's been so prominent. And the only way Belair can get a rematch, hair versus title at SummerSlam. And if you want to go really far, hair versus hair for the title, and Bayley puts her hair up.
So you think a fourth match with these two?
I think so. I don't think there's any way that they are doing. I just thought I thought they actually went too over the top with the going to quit like wrestling altogether. So unless there is some crazy thing going on with Bayley that no one's aware of, I think that this is building towards, yet another match after this.
That feels a little bit too much. I would say 2 was already.
I would argue 3 is too much. Like we're at the third pay-per-view here.
I would say 2 might have been too much. For as good as that Hell in a Cell was, but 4 months of the same program that honestly wasn't all that hot at all to begin with. I would certainly question it. What is the latest on Sasha Banks?
I mean, it just seems like Sasha Banks is, I would assume, there to come back whenever they're ready.
And you don't think that would be SummerSlam?
I mean, I'm just playing this out, that I just think like this was so geared towards like Bayley has to win this because the stipulation is so extreme that they have put out there. Granted, I don't think there's anybody that believes any of these stipulations. And Daniel Bryan established that people don't believe them even when there's actually legitimacy behind them as well.
Yeah. So for me, ultimately, what matters most is like what's the matchup that we're getting to, and I just think 4 months might be too much.
I just took, and again, like this is all me just speculating here, but the fact that that Belair put it out there of like something that is so embarrassing to me, like I thought they were going in the direction of a hair match in this actual promo. I was actually surprised she went the I Quit route, given that it just seems like that could be an avenue that these two explore. So we'll see.
Sure.
More of Jimmy and Heyman waiting on Reigns. And so this was great for Raw on Monday night. Days after they announced Bobby Lashley versus Xavier Woods, it has already switched to Bobby Lashley and MVP against Kofi and Xavier Woods on Monday.
Weird. Well, thank goodness they didn't announce it on TV, I guess. Or did they?
They plugged it online. I don't know if they actually mentioned it on TV or not. They said Woods was coming back. But anyway, it was on their website like the last couple of days. So it was clearly out there. And they're doing a Miz TV with all the men's participants for Money in the Bank. Last man standing, Money in the Bank qualifying match, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Owens has his arm all taped up from the Hell in a Cell injury, and I don't even know where to start with this. They began brawling around all of the screens. Sami getting his head run into Steve. Steve was right there.
Steve, yes.
Owens introduced him to. Early on, they're just trying to take one another out. They're getting up from the count. And Owens pulls out 2 tables and stacks one on top of the other and just leaves it there on the floor to just marinate and just come to a boil for later. We saw some big stuff here. Zayn with a tope con hero, Owens with a fisherman off of the top rope, and then Owens climbs on the turnbuckle. Zayn slips out and shoves Owens, who plunges through both tables and is able to get up at the count of 9. This was a spectacular table spot. This would have been worthy of the finish, and this was not even like, this was only the beginning of the final 10 minutes of this match. We saw them fight on the edge. Owens is clutching his bad arm. The stunner gets countered, and he's hit with a half and half suplex onto the edge of the apron. Again, Owens gets up. He's hit with a haluva kick. He gets up. He's blasted with another haluva kick, and then he catches Owens, places him back into the corner, and hits him with a third haluva kick. Owens has to roll his body to the floor so that his feet can get in the upright position so he can stand up at 9. So Zayn is just getting so frustrated. He can't beat him. He goes to the floor and goes to the old spot where he leaps through the turnbuckles between the middle and bottom ones, but is caught with a super kick and then hit with a pop-up power bomb in the ring. Zayn gets up. He is stunned. He rolls to the floor, and Owens pulls up Zayn. He yells, "How did we get here? This is karma." And he power bombs Zayn through the announcer's desk, power bombs him through a table, and then the ultimate callback, the apron bomb. And he beats Sami Zayn, who cannot answer the count of 10, 23 minutes, 31 seconds. Spectacular match.
It was great. Fun, brutal match. As I think you've come to expect from these two, they never have a bad match together. In fact, they have great matches together, almost always guaranteed. And this was no different.
Even with the commercials in here, I thought this was the best of the recent cycle of Mania, of Hell in a Cell. This one was just outstanding. I love the fact that I sound like an idiot for saying this. I completely am aware of that. But my God, ending this with the apron bomb, by the end of this, you're like, this is such a great end. So when they go back to this in 5 months, that'll be enough time, I guess, before they
5 months. I mean, I think it'll be next week.
It very well could be, but Owens qualifies. This is excellent. But between that main event on Raw and these were 2 outstanding matches from WWE this week on TV.
I don't disagree that they're great matches, but I have no interest in the story. There is no story attached to it. At least we had something maybe going to these pay-per-views, but these are just rematches for the sake of rematches. And I mean, if you're happy to see wrestling without story, then yeah, I think you'll enjoy this. But I just don't get the sense that they're even inspired by anything but wanting their great desire to want to go out to have a great match. I just imagine how much better it would be if there was something at stake, if there was storyline behind these two and they were fighting for a championship or something that's actually meaningful rather than
qualified way. He's now one of 8 men in the ladder match.
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. It is. But I don't know. I only have so much room for good wrestling. I need story attached to it as well.
Well, we go to the back. Edge gets to meet Megan Morant, who he asks if her name is Megan, and understands this is a trap that Jimmy is setting out. He doesn't care. He's tired of Roman and tired of all the excuses. Boogs catches up with Corbin and says, "Hey, all of us are going out for chicken a la king. Hey, maybe you'll feel better after sleeping in your king-sized bed." Shinsuke was playing checkers yesterday and said, "King me." This was amazing because this made Corbin the babyface by the end of this. I just wanted him to blast this dude in the face.
Oh, as did I. Yeah. I mean, I don't. It's first of all, I mean, you feel bad for the guy having lost all of his investments. He's looking really sad, and then here's this very annoying person, Rick Boogs, making some really low effort king puns at him. So absolutely a babyface Baron Corbin.
Are they going to start poor shaming Corbin?
Um, Looks
That's
like
like a
it.
really shitty thing to do.
Or royalty shaming.
Royalty shaming. Sonya Deville comes out. You could not have followed this last man standing war for a spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match than this, where Sonya comes out to announce the next participant that will be in the women's ladder match who has to do nothing. But that is the story that they are purposely telling. But the person she announces to join the other women is the returning Zelina Vega, who comes out, and Vega says that she is going to win and become either the Raw or SmackDown Women's Champion. And this prompts Liv Morgan to complain this is not fair. Vega hasn't even wrestled on SmackDown this year. She was talking to SAG, AFTRA. She was going to try and upset the whole structure of this industry. Vega comes back saying, I can run circles around you, you amateur. And Liv just slaps her in the face and wants a match right now. And in Zelina Vega's big return, she gets beaten by Liv Morgan in a minute 56 when Morgan reverses a roll up and grabs the tights of Vega, which Vega had tried to do. And Morgan pins Zelina Vega. An unbelievable return here for Zelina Vega.
I couldn't believe this.
This was amazing.
Oh my God. Number one, I would say beyond, I think the match and the result itself, it's the fact that she came out here and really had an opportunity to cut the promo of her life. You know, like the reasons surrounding her absence are not a secret at all. And to not even touch on some of that controversy to her advantage was just a total like waste of an opportunity. She came out here and basically it was as if like I don't know, she's been spending all her time on main event. You know, she felt so unimportant coming out and not at all, I think, the hot prospect that I feel like she had kind of become in her time away. And then you couple that with the result of this match, like, you know, the pessimistic, cynical side of me wonders if it is some form of punishment, but maybe not. Maybe we have to wait and see how this plays out.
Famous words. Yeah. I just don't know how you could have made her feel more trivial than by the end of this. I mean, she came out, it was I just thought they minimized the return in an unbelievable record amount of time in a minute 56. But she is in the ladder match. So there we go. Vega, to me, do you see Vega ultimately just in this singles wrestler role? Because the strength of her was as a mouthpiece. And I think it's just a wrestler. She is quickly going to be lost in the shuffle. And man, did they just get in the express lane to that status after this?
Yeah, I mean, on the main roster, at least, I think they see more value in having people, you know, their female talent wrestle rather than be a mouthpiece for somebody else. Eventually, I mean, I really do hope that she finds a role doing that. But in the meantime, I mean, they do need competitors. And they do need competitors who could speak, and she at least fulfills that role. But coming off of this appearance, I certainly don't see her as any sort of contender for Money in the Bank, even though she very well could have been coming off of that absence. I would be surprised if she, you know, be any level of contender in this in the near future at least.
So the story is that Liv Morgan is pissed because she now has 2 wins against Carmella and now over Vega, and she does not have a spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match. So the story is this makes no sense.
The story is we're supposed to really want to cheer for Liv because she's been getting overlooked by the incompetent writing of this show. The incompetent booking decisions of what's her name? Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce. And yeah, it logically, if this was a real sport, nothing would really make sense. So maybe that's what she should be complaining about.
This is the first time like they're actively making like specifically Deville here look like placing her in like this adversarial role to Liv Morgan. And they teased it like with Pierce and Deville, and then they kind of got away from that. But for the most part, it's like these two have kind of been just down the middle. Mm-hmm. And I don't think this is really heat. I think this is just more, I just think it's a weak story.
Well, it just breaks, I think, the part of the fabric of this structure of the WWE, you know, and their matchmaking, where it would absolutely make no sense. Number one, why you have Zelina Vega automatically enter the match, and two, how this person having won twice in recent weeks does not.
And you're telling like contrasting stories that I think put the men and the women on such unequal footing. Kevin Owens is going through this war to get into this prestigious match, and this is how we're handling the women's version. That's a total joke. I mean, it just makes the women's match feel so much more inconsequential because of how these women are being presented. Like it's this comedy routine on the women's side. Deville and Pierce meet with Seth Rollins, who complains about Edge getting the shot over him, and he will get an opportunity to be in the ladder match if he can beat Cesaro next week. So we're getting that, and we are getting Kingsuke versus Baron as our qualifying matches next week.
So more rematches from the pay-per-view.
Correct. Otis versus Angelo Dawkins. Otis dominated him. Splash, Vader bomb, and pin Dawkins in 2 minutes.
Yeah. So continuing a serious push for Otis this week now, cutting more of his, not just his facial hair off, but his actual hair shortened.
Why doesn't Otis want to be in the ladder match? He won the damn thing last year.
Well, that's a great question. That is a great question. You know, they are definitely pushing him strong. I just can't help but wonder what things would have been like if they actually did this while he had the Money in the Bank last year. Now I just, you know, like they keep pushing him strong enough. Eventually I'll forget about all the ham and all that, but to me, they're still in rehab, in a need for rehab right now for Otis to get me to take him seriously.
Last segment of the night, Jimmy Uso comes out calling out Edge. He says, "This isn't a trap. You're not man enough to face me." Turned out Edge is man enough to face him. He came out, asked, "What's happened to you, Jimmy? You're just another one of Roman's bitches." And says, "This isn't a trap for me, Jimmy. It's a trap for you." He attacks him. They brawl for a while, ending with a spear. And then Edge gets a chair, breaks off the piece of it, and puts it into Jimmy's mouth. Totally disgusting. So we recreated the photo from earlier. And Roman never shows up to help his family like Jimmy did for Roman last week. And Edge just screams, "I don't stop," into the camera, which is funny because he actually stopped the crossface in order to deliver this line. And the show concluded.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Roman wasn't even there. We'll see how that explains it next week. But, you know, for Jimmy Uso, I mean, Edge is the project. Edge and Roman is the project. So that unfortunately means Jimmy Uso is really just kind of falling into the Jey Uso role right now, not continuing that story. And if you're not building to that match, I guess I could understand why. But I thought Edge came across really well. He made that, you know, spot with the chair and the crossface look very memorable. I thought he had, you know, good intensity and good justification to make me want to see that next match again. So that's what we have our sights set on. How many weeks to go for this thing?
We got 2 weeks until Money in the Bank, and our updated card has Roman and Edge for the Universal title, Lashley against Kofi for the WWE title, the real main event, Rhea Ripley against Charlotte Flair, no stipulation as of now, for the Raw title, I Quit match between Bianca Belair and Bayley for the SmackDown title. And then the men's ladder match has Ricochet, John Morrison, Riddle, Big E, Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens. And then we'll get the 2 qualifiers next week with Rollins against Cesaro and Nakamura against Corbin. That match is shaping up to be phenomenal.
Yeah, looks great.
The men's match looks really good. Women's ladder match has Naomi, Asuka, Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross, Carmella, Zelina Vega, and 2 spots open.
Well, I hope they're good, whatever the 2 remaining are, because, yeah, it's a bit cold to me.
All right. Well, there you go. That was SmackDown. I don't sense that your world was significantly altered by tonight's episode.
No.
God. The last man standing didn't even hit you, did it?
It was Good, but I mean, I've seen good. Like I see good every single
I
week
thought it was
on.
great. I thought it was like a very, very strong TV match.
Yeah, I guess in terms of importance, it didn't really hit the level of like MJF versus Guevara for me.
It was
It
not at
was
that level.
fine. No, it was fine. I've seen lots of fine.
Well, I would say from Raw, AEW, and SmackDown, each show had like a pretty well. You got two incredible matches on Dynamite.
Phones and feedback right now. Raise your hands up, everybody in the Zoom room. We will dedicate the rest of the show to you guys and your questions, not just about SmackDown, but anything you want in the world of wrestling. What's the poll today, John? Do you have a rating?
My page is loading here. Very
Okay.
slow.
Yeah, so is mine. But first, why don't we start off here? Muggin, what's up?
Hey guys, how you doing? Anyway, about the Edge for a minute. I mean, I do feel like with with his return last week and Seth Rollins, trying to stake his claim for the Universal Championship. I can bet that at SummerSlam that Rollins and Edge are going to be on a collision course. I do think that will be the match for SummerSlam. Maybe of course he loses to Cesaro next week, and then of course he's going to become even more unhinged, and he's going to take his frustrations on Edge at some point. So I do think that'll happen.
And who do you see for Roman?
For SummerSlam?
Yeah.
I think. Oh boy, this is a pickle. Maybe if let's say for example we get through Edge and Rollins, and then Rollins wins, and then maybe we do Rollins and Reigns at some point in the fall, because I mean, I don't know what's going to happen at SummerSlam when it comes to Roman. Maybe it's going to be Cena, because it depends on his schedule. So I think Cena and Reigns will be the one for SummerSlam, and then Roman and Seth will be in the fall. And another thing about, yes, of course, and I also like the story with Liv Morgan trying to prove Sonya Deville wrong, because she feels like the last couple of weeks now she didn't even like consider her to be in the match. But I mean, the more she keeps winning, the more hoops she has to jump through, the more she's going to get in there. I do think they're positioning Liv to be a big baby face in Texas when they get fans in.
We shall see.
That's all I got. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Muggin. Let's go up next to Brian. Brian, what's going on?
Hey, good evening, guys. First off, I still have to listen to Rewind-A-Way because I really enjoyed that feud when it happened. But another great week at the site. John, your news update today I thought was fantastic with the two reviews from New Japan and GLEAT.
Well,
and also, I always enjoyed the on this date videos that you share with today's going back to 2001 and the ill-fated relaunch of WCW.
Yes, today was the infamous Tacoma edition of Raw, headlined by Booker T and Buff Bagwell, which 20 years ago today.
20 years, wow.
Yeah.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
Before Julia Hart was even born.
Oh, amazing.
That's my new favorite running gag on the site. But as for SmackDown tonight, big positives for me was that tremendous last man standing match with your countrymen, and also the promo work from Edge. This Corbin character, I don't see myself enjoying in the long run, but is starting to remind me of, this is kind of a deep cut from like the end of Ring of Honor in 2008, like just as Gabe Sapolsky was about to get fired, he brought in Prince Nana, who is gone destitute, and this may have been around the time of the financial crash. So he's gone from being this rich royalty guy, this rich royal from Ghana, to just this poor guy, and he's just like invading shows saying, "I used to eat shrimp cocktail, now I can't even order off the dollar menu." And it's just, so maybe they could go like, it probably.
See, I could believe an ROH wrestler being broke. If you're the WWE billion-dollar company and you're wrestling on TV every single week and you're broke, please, come on. We went
maybe they could do a story that they were going to cut Corbin, but he had to agree to a lower priced contract, and he's got all these payments to make, and his new contract is much more limiting, but he still has all of these bills to pay.
Maybe. I hope they get into that detail.
All right. And one last question before I hang up because I've taken a lot of time already. But what have been your thoughts on Diamond Mine on NXT since they've debuted?
I like them. I'm more than happy with like a shooter type of gimmick. I think it's a great use of, well, it's something for Malcolm Bivens to really sink his teeth into better than I would say maybe
Definitely.
Indus I'm really interested in seeing Hideki Suzuki. What do they call him now? What's his name?
I didn't catch it. They said
Hachiman or something.
That sounded like it. Yeah.
Hachiman or something. Yeah, something like that. I'm excited. I'm most excited to see him in that system and what he's going to look like as sort of like the big man in that group.
Especially being paired with Kushida, like working with all of those guys, I think is going to bring out the best in it. It's still early to see where they go, but I think the group, obviously, just on paper, it presents a lot of fun matches for Kushida that you can draw out for quite a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like, and it's a serious, like when you do a shoot faction, they're going to be a serious faction. So the matches are going to be good. I think for Roddy, this is his chance to lead his own faction and really break out as a single star. So I'm definitely for it. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate the call.
Thank you.
Always. Let's go up next to Hansi. Hey, Hansi.
Wouldn't be a show without Hansi.
Hansi, are you there?
Yeah, it was good. And I got the notification a little bit late for it.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was probably me.
It's all good. It's all good. I enjoyed Swerve winning the North American title. That bump that Top Dollar took, that didn't even last long. I don't know why, but that bump was great. But I'll start with SmackDown first. I didn't think the show was as great. I mean, maybe because Roman Reigns wasn't on it, right? So it's kind of, I like Edge's promo a little bit, whatever. But I gotta say that like the way they're booking the women's, like all these men are having all these kick-ass matches, and then all these women are just being placed in them. Or like on Monday, Naomi and Asuka, both people that are going to Money in the Bank, both got squashed. So it's like not really hype for the women's Money in the Bank. But the Corbin stuff, I gotta say, like, even though everyone's being kind of a dick to him, this is one of those things that it's accumulated because he has been a dick his entire career, and he's made people's lives miserable. He's showed off. He's like made fun of the fans all the time and all that stuff like that. So what I kind of like when a character who's been a bully most of his tenure on the roster is kind of like now feeling like shit, and he's kind of getting it kind of makes Rick Boogs look an asshole, but it's Corbin who's been like the king of all assholes. So I enjoy what they're doing with Corbin. Like I think Corbin's a good performer. I know they don't put him in good positions sometimes, like what I mean, being like overbearing heel, but I think like if he was somewhere else in another company, I think he would be doing I think we would all like be praising him, in my personal opinion. And I'll get your thoughts first before I go to the AEW stuff, if that's cool.
No, well, I mean, we talked about the Corbin stuff. I don't think it's
I totally understand, Hansi. Like it's the bully getting his comeuppance. But come on, whatever happened to rising above hate? Since when have we been teaching our children to sink to the level of the bullies? Come on. Be extending a man a hand. We should be offering him a sandwich. Yeah,
but if you get his confidence back up, then he's gonna be an asshole again. Watch, I'm telling you. But it is what it is. But as far as AEW goes, I really enjoyed the AEW show, and because I've been more critical of Omega because of what I mean, I thought this was one of Omega's best segments that he did this past week. And the thing that I like about it, I hope they don't go to Adam Page during these special shows. I think they should save it for a pay-per-view, because this has been one of my main problems with when TNA did this. I thought when TNA was going to get rid of 12 pay-per-views a month, right? And they're doing far off in between pay-per-views. The habit that they fall into is that they still kind of have like the TV going on, but then they go into the pattern of, okay, now it's 4 weeks before the pay-per-view actually begins, so let's start hyping it up. I'm not saying you have to hype up every single match from pay-per-view to the next pay-per-view, but I do think you should be planting seeds for what your world title picture is going to be, because I haven't enjoyed Omega's build-ups for the Jungle Boy or the Cassidy thing. They haven't felt like world title thing. Like Miro feels more like a main eventer. So if they can manage to keep Adam Page away from just keep that match from happening until like the pay-per-view, that would be amazing, because you already did a good job kind of playing those seeds, and it's kind of like 2 months away from All Out. So I would prefer if they don't go to a TV. I know that's like antiquated talk that Cody Rhodes talks about oh, well, we can have big shows on television. I get that, but this match should be on a pay-per-view at that first meeting, and I'll leave you guys with that. Sorry for taking up too much of your time. Sorry about that. Peace.
All good.
Yeah, no, I think that should be the destination for the pay-per-view. I think that, to be honest, I feel that AEW takes more advantage of that with their 4 pay-per-views, where I think, again, it's not top to bottom, but I think when you're a month, 2 months out, I think you can see, like, if you're focused, like your main event scene, I think you can see a lot of the directions of where they're going, that they're not wasting, a month or two just because they have 3 months between pay-per-views. I would say if they were doing that, then I would argue just to go to monthly pay-per-views, because if you're not going to take advantage of that extra time, then you might as well just water down your pay-per-views, because you will get people buying them. And to me, it's once you get to those final like 3 Dynamites before the pay-per-view, when all the things are coming into, it's becoming much more clear and you see everything come together, a lot of those pieces do figure into one another. And I think Omega and Page is a significant one, that they have always kept that one there in the back of everyone's mind and doing just enough to always keep you aware of that eventual destination. And now's the time to like ramp that up, and you've got 2 months to do it.
Not for a second, though. I think they're going to give that match away in any form, even if it's to lead to a screwy finish on a TV show. I mean, that's a match that's been in the making for almost like well over a year since these two, if you consider when they started tag teaming together. It is arguably the biggest money match they can make right now in AEW, and without a doubt, it is something that they will be using to its full potential by putting it as the main event on a pay-per-view. You can, do a good rating with a Kenny match. Like you have
Christian,
an infinite.
they've set up Christian for a title match on TV.
Frankie Kazarian, like, you have an infinite number of, I would say, low mid card to upper mid card guys that you could really peak a rating for Kenny. But as the audience, I think we'd be upset if they just gave us that big match on TV. Like, we are, I think, the type of audience who want to see the right moves made business wise, and really for our own personal interests. We want to see that match on the grandest stage. And at the moment, the grandest stage looks to be All Out in Chicago. Let's go to New Jersey. And if this guy can perhaps take it easy for a second here on Words of Friends. Brandon from New Jersey, is he around? Are you around, Brandon?
Oh, what's going on? How are you?
Let me tell you, everybody, this dude, I know he could be a man of a few words on these calls. He is a fucking wizard at Words with Friends. He's been kicking my ass, this guy, at Words with Friends, bringing out like a vocabulary that I didn't know was possible. So how do you do it, Brandon?
You're too kind, man. How are you? I don't know, man. The game is still young. You're like a 30-point word away from with my ass.
You guys want to see what the score is? It's now 122 to 87. Okay. I got to show you guys another score though, okay? Because there's another person in this. Well, he was in this room earlier who actually brought me back into Words with Friends, and I'm murdering him. Check out this score. Oh, you can't really see it right now.
This is award-winning audio.
Me and Jordan Goodman. Look at this. 428 to 284. I'm killing him.
Jesus.
Wow, maybe it's the luck of the draw.
Good evening, guys.
What are you doing for 4th of July?
This is very kind of you. I was getting 50% off my Canada Day purchases at the Brick.
Worth the drive. No, that's acting.
I hope you hope you took advantage of that discount.
Is the brick still around? Is the brick still?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's one at Dufferin and DuPont.
Okay. I think any business we have to do a checkup on and make sure that they're still around.
Oh man. John, I was curious. The FMWE show. Where can you watch that show at this
I'm
evening?
glad you brought this up because I had actually wanted to run some of this by way. So you can order it off of their website, which instead of reading it out, go to my update from today, which Brandon labeled a super thick update today. And you can find the link in there. It costs 1,000 Japanese yen, which is $9 US. So the show is airing on Saturday night at 11 Eastern. It'll feature a death match of hell, a 6-man involving Atsushi Onita that will include barbed wire, barricade, landmine explosions, barbed wire rope explosions, barbed wire bat explosions, and a table explosion. But the big one way is the bunkhouse death match. It's going to be a triple threat. And the concept is that during the live stream, you can donate money. And if they reach a certain level, they'll add these weapons to the match. And you can pay for the following weapons to be added. They've got trash cans, a fencing stick, chairs, barbed wire bats, a whip, ladders, a demon stick, my personal favorite, red pepper powder, guitar, table, bat, a predator knife, which is how it's labeled, and you can add a gun.
It's all about the gun, right? Like all that other stuff sounds fun, and I'm sure it'll be tremendously entertaining.
If you're spending 1,000 yen and you're giving them a chair, I mean, when you have the option of, first of all, red pepper powder, I mean, that could be deadly.
To get
a gun can certainly be deadly.
Listen, man, this is a brilliant marketing strategy. Okay, it is perhaps some of the best integration of fan support, crowdfunding, whatever, Twitch donating in a live interactive wrestling match that I've ever heard. The man is a genius. I think they're going to be rich. Everybody's going to want to get that gun. And they have to have a big spot plan. How do you plan a spot with a gun?
Look at this promise on their website. Atsushi Onita's FMW is back. It will be held on July 4th. This is the title of Independence Day. Atsushi Onita announced that FMWE will have the best explosion match ever.
Oh, I don't doubt that. I mean, I listen, it's one thing to be maybe, concerned about the level of explosion from an AEW, but you're talking about the creator here. You can bet the explosives will probably go off in a big way. What I want to know is what is the fake explosion match?
Well, we've got like the fake Onita in the match. It sounds like they're just going to do a comedy version of an explosion match. I don't know what this will be.
They actually call it a fake explosion match.
Yes. Make it
this
clear.
This show sounds awesome.
I'm kind of curious to see what the hell that is.
Yeah, this show sounds awesome.
I want to see what the Surumi Fruit and Vegetable Center looks like. Is it like Nature's Emporium in Maple or Farm Boy in Alderwood Plaza?
WH has put this over very strong, so I too am interested to see the fruit and vegetable market in Yokohama and how it is represented here. They've already announced a follow-up show for August, so FMWE will not be one and done.
It's the right time, honestly, the right time for Onita to deliver all of his craziness unedited.
Are you watching it, Brandon? Form.
I'm tempted to watch it on Saturday. I don't have anything to do, so
I mean, UFC didn't even want to counter program this. I mean, they're taking the night off. They don't want to go against Onita.
I might do a report.
Please do.
Ooh, that'd be awesome. Oh man, that's the main draw.
Let's see, Brandon. Let's see how good his words are when it's not one-on-one with Wai.
I swear, Brandon. Honestly, like I don't know if like what the Up Next Boys plans are, but like a watch along to this show with Brandon in New Jersey, like that'd be amazing.
It sells itself. Just a couple things. I'll get out of here. Ever notice how Canadian lumberjack thick Stu Grimson from the Dark Order's accent sounds like? Or is it just me? And was it me or that Alex Reynolds?
What?
Stu Grimson from the Dark Order, the bald guy with the beard. Oh, Stu
Yeah,
Grayson. That's
not
his
the
name.
hockey player. Jesus Christ.
John, Road FC is back. Did you see the co-main event of that
No.
fight? It's
No.
between a former reformed Yakuza member and a famous actor in Japan. Are you curious about that fight? And that's all I got about it.
Thank you, Brandon.
Are these actual questions, or are these just like punchlines? What are they? I don't get it at all.
This is like he gets on late. This is like open mic night, and he gets on like before last call here, and he just goes through his material.
Did you unmute me again?
Oh, he's still here.
Oops, sorry. I hit tried to brought him back by accident. Do you actually have an answer for what he was asking, or was it
I have
rhetorical?
no answer. No, I don't. I have nothing.
Okay, let's go up next. Jake, thank you for waiting patiently. Jake, what's up?
No problem. Thanks so much, guys. I should probably try out that Word for Friends game way. Like, do you recommend it?
Yeah, it's Scrabble. Yeah, it's Scrabble with your friends.
Okay.
I do recommend.
I'll probably look into that. Anyway, first of all, a happy belated Canada Day to you guys and to our fellow neighbors up north. I actually want to change it up here. I'm looking forward to UFC 264 next weekend. Looks like it's going to be a fun card. Regarding the main event, this one is a tough one to call, as I do believe Conor does have the power to put Poirier away, especially in the first round. But that being said, what I've noticed personally myself that some people might have overlooked is that I think, following his career, ever since the Mayweather fight, I just feel like Conor simply abandoned his footwork and tried to muscle opponents down. And it's definitely glaring, especially back in January, where he was just basically chasing after Dustin and overextending, trying to get a quick finish. But I'm just curious to get your thoughts, John. Like, what would be the probably the best case scenario for as far as strategy wise for Conor, and if you want to add that over to Dustin Poirier as well. But it's going to be very interesting to look at next week.
Yeah, I don't see this fight going much different than the last fight. I think that Dustin Poirier is a very comfortable favorite and should be. I don't think that this is enough time that watching that last fight, I think that there was certainly Conor has the power is going to be the last thing to go. But when it comes to just, I mean, God, you're talking about a game of speed and you see the slightest of diminishment in that, that's going to be very, very consequential, I think, in this fight for Dustin to be able to capitalize on. I think with Conor, I mean, it's someone that he's had very limited cage time in these last couple of years, and the game passes you by very quickly. And Conor can probably be very competitive with a lot of lightweights, but it's a very tough division when there's the speed component. And with Conor, I mean, there were just a lot of telltale signs that I just don't see him being able to make wholesale corrections to in 6 months from that last fight. So if I would agree with you, I think early in the fight is going, like that first round is going to be McGregor's best opportunity, because for each successive round, I just see it really repeating itself of what happened back in January. Like that's going to be a big problem. I mean, he made significant changes after, like, people are comparing this to Nate Diaz, but again, that was 5 years ago. It was a very different Conor McGregor. So, I mean, that's going to be the intrigue of this fight, because a second loss to Dustin Poirier, I think Conor McGregor can still be utilized. You can still put him in a lot of big fights, but in terms of being elite at the top of the lightweight division, a second loss to Poirier probably removes him from that space.
Yeah, I just hope that he'll be able to hopefully able to make some adjustments on that stance, because but it's definitely going to be an entertaining fight. That'll be my prediction. Last off, guys, after hoping for so many years, I finally been able to join the Espresso levels, so I'm really looking forward to it. And guys, thank you so much for all the great content you've been able to put over all these years, and really proud supporter of the Patreon. So just keep up the great work, and I hope you guys have a great weekend.
Thank you, Jake. It's very much
Thanks a lot, Jake.
appreciated. All right, let's go up next. Wow, Steppy Tay, long time no here. What's going on, Steppy Tay?
Hey, boys, how are thee?
We're good.
Excellent. Yeah, I went on a little bit of a sabbatical because you guys were up late with the Dyna Down.
Understandable.
But yeah, absolutely. I was just sort of wondering if what you guys think about.
Deputy, you're gone.
All right, let's go up next to David Myers. David, what's up?
Hey guys, I wanted to echo what Jake was saying. Part of the reason I called in, I think it's been like 3-4 months since I've been able to, and just tell you how much I'm enjoying your content. The recent show with Jericho and HBK was great. I found it recently to enjoy Jericho as much because of some of the Trump, but mostly the COVID stuff. But even then, I thought your show was one of your best you've done in a few months. The question I had, the thing I wanted to talk about was the story about Samoa Joe's release. I just found it really interesting. You touched on this briefly on Monday's show, but there's always talk, does Triple H, really want to do things differently on a different page, than Vince, or is that just, he kind of creating this image? But I found it kind of shocking that he, either through miscommunication or he's not in that top leadership structure, didn't know about Samoa Joe's release or couldn't stop it, and then within hours would call him up and say, hey, come back. It really did show to me that maybe there is actually this, divergence between Triple H and other people on the main roster. So just wondering if you guys would just chat about that more and what that story said to you about what is going on at WWE, and would Triple H, really be doing things differently if he had more power one day?
Yeah, I certainly took it to mean something, to really further highlight perhaps the differences in philosophy between the two and maybe some of the miscommunication between the two groups. It's really, I guess, not the first time, somebody's been released and then picked up the very next day. Like Drake Maverick was a slightly different situation where, the guy did the video and they saw an opportunity to tell a bigger story, I suppose, with that comeback. But in this case, it really was just a guy who they didn't want to let go, or at least they didn't think they should let go and did anyway. And then another person from the same company deciding to pick them back up. It's super strange. It's super odd, but to me, it does, indicate some dysfunction.
Yeah, I mean, just working, myself, obviously in a wrestling company, but in, powerful structures like that, you think there's a process where they check in and say, hey, we're about to release these guys. And I find it kind of impossible to think they didn't do that at some level. And to me, this story said, well, Triple H wasn't in that loop of, hey, we're going to release these guys. Do you have any thoughts? So that it really stood out to me that maybe there is like a bigger difference than we thought between Triple H and the top leadership structure, Vince McMahon, Kevin Dunn. I can't believe that those people weren't consulted before Samoa Joe was released, but apparently Triple H either was not in that small circle or couldn't, and I guess he could have stopped it, right? Because he gave him a job the next day. So I just thought it was a really interesting story.
There's no way for us to truly know what that structure is, and who knows what exactly is going on. We can only speculate. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily make the company look good to like release a guy only to pick him up a month later or however long later in a different department. It's super strange.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. And thanks for all the great content.
All right. Thank you, David. Let's go to closing things off. A longtime friend of post wrestling, Ahmad Butt. Ahmad, what's going on?
Hey guys, how are you?
Nice to talk to you, Ahmad. What's going on?
Ahmad. Very nice of you to call.
Okay, John. Already, you don't need to attack me.
You don't need. You just read tone very bad.
That's really true, actually. I wanted to call and say hello because it's been a while. I miss both of you, but so I did have a question, if I can ask it.
That's great because this segment is about asking questions. So I'm glad you
Oh.
came prepared.
All right, thanks, dude. So with this is not about WWE, it's about AEW. Since that is the company I watch consistently. With them, essentially, being on Saturdays or Fridays for just roughly a month, and obviously, like that did some damage to their viewership. This past week they did like 830 or something like that. And I was just
883.
wondering,
Yeah.
883, great, thank you. I was wondering, like, prior to the move, they were doing, 900, a million, maybe 850 or so. And I guess I'm wondering, like, what do you think, or when do you think they could sort of get back to that, like, kind of mythical million number? And even beyond that, what does that company, in your opinions, need to do to sort of expand the brand, right? I think fans who know AEW generally have a favorable opinion, but it seems like the general consensus is that not enough people know about AEW, the brand. And so, what do you think they could do or should keep doing to expand the name recognition?
I would actually tie it to, once they go and they made the announcement for Arthur Ashe Stadium, I thought it was very interesting to see how much media picked up on that. And I'm very curious to see what attention they get for those series of shows in Newark, and then the Arthur Ashe Stadium show, maybe to a lesser extent, the Rochester one. But the first two are, that's a very big part of the country. And it was interesting to see, a lot of like Northeast media focusing on that and kind of playing up AEW. Like, here is the big competitor to WWE. I think that's one aspect to it that I think they're going to get a lot of media attention out of that, and probably over these next couple of months, because they have, several big events with the launch of Rampage. They have the return to live events, and then you've got those September shows. So I look at these 3 months as pretty important. And I think that's, it's not going to be one thing that takes them to this next level. But I do think it's going to be an accumulation over time of AEW establishing itself as here is the alternative to WWE, and more people learning about it. So I'm very curious to see also the media attention that they receive in September.
I think ultimately it'll be like, like that one breakthrough star, whether it be somebody that's already on the roster making it to that level, or the acquisition of somebody to reach to that level. That'll probably do it for them. But I get the sense that with AEW, they're perfectly happy and satisfied with where they are right now. Obviously, things can always be better. Cracking a million consistently is probably, a consistent goal that they would like to reach. But bottom line, are they profitable? Are they making their TV company happy? Are they making, creating quality content and making the fans happy? I get the sense that, I think Tony Khan sees this as a very long game. And
I'd be very optimistic going against the NBA on Wednesday and pulling that number that they did.
Definitely.
I'd be very optimistic about that. Are you, Ahmad, going to any of those shows in September?
So I'm definitely going to the New York show because I bought those tickets, a year and a half ago.
Right.
I kept getting delayed. And then the Arthur Ashe Stadium, which is obviously a week after, I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go, definitely.
It'd be a fun show to go to. I think it'd be really cool to watch wrestling there. I think that I mean both shows are probably going to be pretty lively crowds.
Well, one of the draws of like these shows, like Arthur Ashe Stadium, is like it's a different, it looks different, right? And so you watch WWE, it looks the same every week essentially. And AEW, like they've done the stuff on the boat, and even Daly's place, it's outdoors. It looks different. So I'm definitely looking to go to Arthur Ashe. The other one, I'll leave off with this, is All Out and the entire kind of weekend or week around Chicago. It's all in the same month of these other shows in New York and New York. And so for me, like I would like to go to all, as many of them as I can go to. But it is a lot of AEW in a month. To your point, like September's a big month, but I mean the product, if you like it, which I do, I think it's kind of worth going to. So I'm planning to go to All Out, hopefully.
Well, they
as
have a
well.
lot of lost time to make up for it, and I think they're depending on the pent up demand from perhaps audiences like yourself who might want to travel to go to all these shows, or at the very least, the people in the immediate vicinities of all of those places to hit these up. Ultimately, it's like with this amount of shows, they have to make sure the cards are good, and yeah, we'll see what they have set up. Thank you, Ahmad. It's always nice to talk to you.
Thank you for having me.
We'll chat with you in 5 years.
Oh, that's rude. Bye.
All right, John, let's go to the forum here, forum.postwrestling.com. The vote for SmackDown, 6.29.
All right. Do you agree with that rating, Way?
I do. What do you say?
I'll go 7, largely on that last man standing match.
Right on. Cool. We have one piece of feedback here, and it comes from Kate, who will be joining me on this show next week, as it is a UFC week. So, John, would you like to read Kate's thoughts on tonight's show?
Kate writes, I'm shocked to be saying this, but I actually enjoyed Raw more than SmackDown this week. With the exception of the excellent Owens-Zayn match, the whole show just rehashed what we'd seen over the last few weeks. Something that the returning Zelina Vega said caught my attention. She said she was going to win the Money in the Bank briefcase and cash it in on Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. I'm almost sure that only the Royal Rumble winner had the right to challenge on any brand in past years, whereas the Money in the Bank winner could only challenge for the title on their home brand. I feel like the change diminishes the Rumble a bit, but more importantly, that's a change they should have made clear. I totally missed that. I totally missed on that one line. That's very notable if they're inserting NXT there.
I remembered hearing it and feeling it was unusual, but I'd forgotten about it by the end of the segment. So thank you, Kate, for reminding us. It would certainly add a different wrinkle to the Money in the Bank briefcase. And you know what? I would actually absolutely love the idea, because you do have a men's and you do have a women's, and typically what they like to do is cash one of those in immediately to just take them off the board. But I think doing it perhaps by bring the women's to NXT and having that float around in NXT will achieve it, while also giving NXT something interesting, while elevating NXT as well. If this might be, for instance, a Zelina Vega's way of making it down there, that would certainly make things a whole lot more interesting. And I think even storyline wise, I think it makes sense. Like for the longest time, the NXT themselves promote that women's division as being the best in pro wrestling. And I would take to mean, to the audience that this is a fact. It is better than Raw and SmackDown. If you're a female wrestler in the WWE, would you rather go against the Raw roster, the SmackDown roster, or would you rather go against the competition in NXT? I would love to see that played through. And yeah, you're right. Maybe they should have made that a bigger deal.
Anything else?
We are done.
All right. Well, we are going to be back on Monday night with Rewind-A-Raw, as we will be going through everything happening on Monday night. Big tag match, MVP and Bobby Lashley against Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. Big edition of Miz TV. So all of that we will be discussing on Monday night. And a quick note that Sunday we are dropping this month's edition of the long and winding Royal Road, WH Park, joined by Mark Buckledy, and they'll be reviewing the match from October of 1999 involving Mitsuharu Misawa and Yoshinari Ogawa against Kenta Kobashi and Jun Akiyama. And they might be dropping something on Sunday. Is that accurate, Way?
There might be a drop on Sunday night. 10 o'clock is when the show comes out, and with that, maybe something else as a bonus at the end of the long winding Royal Road. So, yeah, do watch out for that. And if you want to get as John mentioned, a head start on watching that match, it is available if you Google for it. Again, Mitsuharu Misawa and Yoshinari Ogawa versus Kenta Kobashi and Jun Akiyama, the Team of Burning, from October 23rd, 1999. A 5-star rated tag match from Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer. Always fun look back. So we look forward to that.
All right. Thanks to everybody that joined us live tonight in the cafe, and have a great weekend. We'll speak with you on Monday night.
Thank you, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to a regular decent time of 11:40 that we're ending this thing. So
yeah, let's enjoy it for 6 weeks.
You're right. Yeah, then Rampage starts and we're gonna have to do this all over again. But
my God.
In the meantime, we appreciate it. Appreciate all the calls, all the every single one of the calls that's out there.
Almost all of them. The ones that made it through.
Hope you guys join us again next week, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks.